In this video, I will briefly mention some ethical research considerations and then some resources that are helpful for topics specific to Hawaii. A'ohe pau ka ike I ka halau ho'okahi. All knowledge is not taught in the same school. I like to use this olelo no'eau as a starting point for this conversation because it's a good reminder that knowledge is not confined to college or to academia, but knowledge comes from anywhere and everywhere. And that's an important distinction to keep in mind when you are doing any type of research. The questions that I have listed here come from an Indigenous scholar, and these are recommendations to help you get started before actually beginning a research project that has to do with Indigenous people, and especially if you're not a part of that community. Should you do the research at all? How does your positionality affect the research? And are you following ethical research processes? We could talk about all three of these in a lot of detail, but I just wanted to throw that out for now to get this conversation started, and there's a link to the full article if you'd like to dig deeper into this topic. Some additional considerations to think about when you are doing research, and especially if you are doing research that's related to an Indigenous community. Does my project enable Indigenous people to speak for themselves? Does it enable Indigenous people to lead? Have I spoken with community to understand their priorities and interests? Does my project further those priorities? Does the project confer a benefit to Indigenous people and communities? If so, how? Does my project factor in adequate time for engagement and collaboration? Does my project factor in remuneration for the specialist expertise and time of Indigenous knowledge holders? And will Indigenous knowledge holders be recognized as co-authors and co-researchers in the project? And just in general, it's important to consider your own worldview before beginning a research project. So thinking critically about the how of your research and the ways in which your research methods have been shaped by your worldview and your own experiences. A great place to start reflecting on your formative ideas about research is to read about Indigenous perspectives. I have some recommended readings. I could have added a lot more, but this is a good starting point if you're interested in learning more about Indigenous perspectives. So the first books are from Native Hawaiians, and then I have some other from other Indigenous people. The rest of this presentation will specifically look at sources that are helpful in regards to topics related to Hawaii. So I have links to 2 separate online dictionaries. And the first is a collection of different dictionaries. The second is a dictionary that was created by Hilo professors. I also have a link to Hawaiian place names. This is online. And then I have a picture of the book, Place Names of Hawaii, which is a super helpful book that I recommend you check out if you are interested in learning original place names. And the next picture I have is of another book, Hanau Ka'ua, Hawaiian Rain Names. Rain names can be super helpful in verifying a particular rain belonging to a place. There are hundreds of rain names and they're place specific. So for our research project, Wahipana, for example, oftentimes you can find a mele, a song, an oli, a chant, specifically through looking at different types of rain. So this is a really interesting resource, and I've spent hours looking through this particular book. There's also a link to an article from the authors about this book that explains a little more information about the book itself. And then I have some separate links to other sources. This link will take you to a separate document of rain names of Hawaii and then of wind names. So winds also are place specific and also are a good way to look for stories and chants and songs related to specific places by looking at the name of different winds of that place. These both of these books I had listed in the recommended reading lists. They really dive deeper into an Indigenous Hawaiian perspective about research methodologies. They are available in our library, so if it's something you're interested in, I recommend you check these out. They're extremely useful and important texts in regards to better understanding Kanaka Oiwi methodologies or Native Hawaiian methodologies. And I have another link to a series of podcasts that were put together by some of our Hawaiʻi Community College professors and also community members. A lot of these presentations talk about Wahipana on Hawaii Island. So this is a really useful and fun reference. And then I have a link to Kipuka, which will direct you to a bunch of different maps. So if you are, really diving into places and you want to be specific about location, this is a great resource for you. And then Ulukau. Ulukau has so many different resources that are all free. Again, you can find the Hawaiian dictionaries that I mentioned previously on this page. There are a lot of books that have been scanned and uploaded to this site. Hawaiian newspapers. You can also find, there are just a ton of resources on Ulukau. So if you have time, I strongly recommend that you check out this site. You'll notice that you have a choice of reading in Olelo Hawaii or in English. So if you click on it and everything's in Hawaiian, you can toggle over and choose English. And then I put a link to our Mo'okini Library Hawaiian collection. Here's the link, and if you recall from previous videos, I talked a little bit about some of the resources. Some of them are an overlap of what I've talked about already. But again, here's the Hawaiian Legends Index. So if you still haven't found a story, for example, for your research paper, I recommend that you check this out. This is a collection of older texts. Some of them are actually even out of print, and they've all been scanned and uploaded to this site, and it's all online and it's all free. And then lastly, I have a link to the Iola Haloa Center for Hawaii Lifestyles through Hawaii Community College. There's also a link to their page. They have a ton of really helpful resources available for students. So if you haven't already checked them out, I encourage you to do so. And as always, if you need any help wrapping things up with your research paper, please let me know. I'm here to help. And this concludes this video. Mahalo.